Okay, and we're live. Catherine has come through, so do let me know when I come through, and we will take it from there. Oh, let me stand up. Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Do let me know when I'm coming through, and we can do some of those. Great picture and sound. Fantastic, Tish. The only thing that's not great today is, well, my hair for a start. That's not great. But I think we can just live with that. Hello, Leslie. What is great is we seem to be having a February heat wave, which, you know, it has to be said, hello, Elizabeth. Heat waves and ice trails are not ideal bedfellows. Hello, Linda. Good morning to you in New York. So you couldn't plan it, could you? But yeah, it's 13 degrees and sunny here in New York on the day of the ice trails. So you may be looking at some spectacular puddles. But if it really is, if we're not getting the optimal, what I might do is go out and record this tomorrow morning, and then we'll perhaps watch it in another way. So yeah, that's just, you know, I'm not one to wish bad weather on anybody, and let's face it, winter is miserable enough. But for the poor folk that have put in such a lot of effort to carving these ice things, to have, and of course you're not kids alike, they all go along touching them, which makes them worse. So yeah, there we go. So anyway, before we start, a little bit of bonus content for our some artistic project. I like that, Tish. You can see the artistry in that drip. There is something, you know, I think that speaks to all of us in that puddle. So, you know, if I have to wax a little bit lyrical, a bit purple, it's the same in Canada. Really, Pamad melting. I know Stefan was somewhere, wasn't he? Was he inside? Look from the pictures, he was inside. So I don't know if he had a better, was it actually got a chilled place? But your puddles are very nice. Well, we could get some puddle grams, couldn't we? No, just ice weather. Oh, Linda. So just for Linda, and for everybody else, that's a special place in my heart. Here we go. Is that, you know, our toppers that we have on our post boxes? Have a look at this one. Isn't that fun? So obviously for Valentine's, we've got hearts, we've got roses, ice shells inside with freezers. That's cheating, isn't it? But we could have done with that today. But isn't that fun? So no idea who the artiste is, who created this wonderful spectacle, but it's certainly, I think, worth sharing. It's a thing of beauty and a joy to behold. Love those toppers. I don't know where they came from. Are they an English thing? Do they come from elsewhere? Does anybody know about this? You know, kind of where the wellspring of this was? Because obviously they are now pretty common, aren't they? But I don't recall how they started. I know there's like stuff for the Queen's Jubilee, I think. But did it start there? Was it an idea that we imported from elsewhere? Does anybody know the derivation of the toppers? Yeah, I mean, I think it's English, isn't it? Because other places don't have post boxes the same, do they? So you wouldn't. They sort of seem peculiarly English. Maybe top of my local society. I think I'm going to say 17 degrees where Elizabeth is. I'm going to say I think it probably is. Hello, Ginny. That it probably is an English. Ginny might know. Ginny's very kind of up on these craft. Ginny, settle in, not an argument, but a query for us. Did these postbox toppers originate in England, or have we got the idea from somewhere else? Because they're quite fabulous, but I just don't know exactly how it was they came into being. But I know Ginny is very in on the craft world, so she may well have the answer for us. So when you don't know, ask a guide. So are we about 2 o'clock? I don't even know what time it is, which is kind of rather remiss of me. One more to love England. Absolutely, we are a terribly lovable bunch. We're known for that. So I think we're coming on about 2 o'clock. So we'll go down now and we'll see if we can't find our first watery sculpture. So as I say, for those that missed the kind of intro, so we're going live now, really, aren't we? The annual ice festival, which is great fun, that we have here in York, is a bit impacted by the weather. It is very warm. I've kind of peeled off the layers. I started off about 25 layers on, thinking, oh, cold February tour, and it's just got warmer and warmer. Mark's seen the toppers near him. So the first one is it's only about 100 yards away from where we are now, so we'll be there in just a moment. And if there is a theme as such this year, it is mythical beasts, and I'm not quite sure how that was arrived at, why they kind of chose that particular theme, but I know that some, not all, but some of them are that. I think the first was a Yeti. So let's just give you let's flip around to the front, and so we're on Warmgate, 40 minutes Valma, a Nordic, a Viking, leading Valma, an awful lot of Viking activity in this area. It's a nice street, this one. It's not somewhere I bring you down very often on tour. It's got some very fine buildings, one of which coming up on our left-hand side, but it's also got a lot of chod, which is a technical term you might not have come across for buildings that haven't had a lot of thought. So here we are. Our very first encounter today on the ice trail is, I believe, a Yeti. And we're just coming closer to try and get you a bit of the detail in on here. So he is a fabulous chap, but he seems to be losing his face, which isn't really, kind of more scary, but you can kind of see where it's going. But I think what we'll do is we'll come out tomorrow morning and get some film of these in a kind of pristine state. Maybe do something at home, because the loss of facial features, I think, does detract somewhat from the overall impact, because you can see obviously it's a fine specimen. What does it say? I know that this is meant to be a Yeti left side favourite, so very long arms. This is to portray them, like kind of Neanderthals and Yetis and people, and Bigfoot. These have really long kind of arms, don't they? The gangly kind of look about them. But yeah, so the weather is not our friend today. It has to be said, but nonetheless, we're going to endeavour to show you what we can show you. And as I say, what we may well do is I may well pop out tomorrow morning about 10 o'clock and do some filming, and we'll try and get them all for you in sort of pristine condition, and perhaps do an edited tour from home. So I'm going to move out now so that others can get in, because obviously there's lots and lots of families around, and we don't want to get in people's way. It's their free festival too, as well as our kind of enjoyment. So off we go then. So sculpture number one, tick, we can manage that. So I think we're heading up now towards Piccadilly. So as I say, hello there. We're walking down, continuing to walk down Warmgate. So for just those that like to kind of get the sense of York, at the very end of the street there, you've got Warmgate Bar, so one of the four main gateways, and this is the Roman route that runs right the way up to Booth and Bar and the Minster. So in effect, we've got a straight line, because Romans did love a straight line, right? You know, they had their rulers, their set squares, protractors. They always brought their pencil case when they arrived in town to make sure that everything was kind of tip-top and straight and accurate. They loved a bit of that. And of course, really, what it kind of means is they didn't really care what was there before. Everything was just swept out of the way for the Romans to build the grids that they loved so much. They're kind of efficient grids. So York is still sort of, to this day, 2,000 years later, is still sort of bisected by this road, which sees that right at the top, Booth and Bar, where we've started many, many tours. And at the other end, we've got, of course, Warmgate Bar. So they, if you like, the eastern side of the city, the northern side, are linked together. And so I think the next one, we've got a little list here. I think we'll go down onto Piccadilly. So today's tour, I'm going to do the outliers. Then tomorrow we're going to hit the city centre, where there's lots and lots of them. But I couldn't really do it all in one tour. Spark, yeah. So this is Church of St. Denis, the French saint. When the Norman the Conqueror came, they brought their French saints. So you get churches now of St. Denis Church on Warmgate, another one of York's many medieval churches. I'm not sure if I've brought you here before, but I'll give you a little bit of bonus content as we're walking towards the next one, which is around the corner. For those like Ian Braisby that love a Norman doorway, this is a lovely fine example of 11th century stonework. So as ever in York, around every corner, a little delight to share with you. And I suspect where Ginny's and East Sussex, there'll be many of these as well. But isn't that a fabulous bit? Oh, is Ronnie joining us? A fabulous bit of architecture in stone. So nothing to do with ice sculptures. We're just passing it. And so you think, well, if we're passing it, why not stop at it and share with you another one of the little highlights of York? Because York, of course, has got majestic big highlights that we all kind of know about, Minster and Shambles and so forth. But often, a bit like Mark in Amsterdam, the detail stuff is where the real kind of fun is, isn't it? And the kind of knowing just little simple little delights that just give you a little frisson. That's a good one, isn't it? A frisson. That's a French word as well. That came over, no doubt, with William the Conqueror as well. So a little frisson, using it again, of just pleasure. And I kind of get like a little electrical ripple. I don't know if other people experience this in their kind of cities or when they go somewhere else, but I just get a little, when I see something that I just think is wonderful, and you feel like an instant connection to the past and the people that kind of created it. And that's me, I guess, as being a history buff. That's my thing. Other people might get it looking at sports cars and stuff. That kind of leaves me a bit cold. But cold, unfortunately, is what it isn't today in York. It is rather warm. So again, for those joining us, just to be aware, the unseasonal weather is playing havoc, as they say, on the ice sculptures. So if they are somewhat depleted, from what we would hope, then I can only apologise. But it's for the first time I'm going to apologise for it being nice weather in February. And Elizabeth, I think, enjoyed the game. So I think there's one somewhere around here. I noticed that spark, so eyes peeled, and we'll just try and find where that is, because all I've got is a list. I don't know precisely where these things are. Oh, look at that, there's a brand new view of York. So demolition work. You just see there, suddenly got a view of the castle that has never been there until now. So that's interesting. So let us try and find an ice sculpture. Generally speaking, you got to follow the crowds. The crowds are pretty smart on this. They know where stuff is. So if we kind of look at where the found this week, isn't that fantastic? Even ancient cities like York are still changing all the time. There's a whole bunch of people over here. So are they queuing to get in? Or is there a sculpture around? Excuse me, is there a nice sculpture around here somewhere?
There's a queue.
Oh, there's a queue to get in. We'll pick that one up later on the video. There's a queue to get into this. So I think we will we'll knock that one out and we'll head into Coppergate Centre, because I know that there's one down there. I don't think we will be queuing for a while. So I'm going to move up, just cross over, not get run over. So this is Piccadilly. It's not pretty the least attractive bits of the city, but of course over on our right hand side in a moment, we've got the fabulous Merchant Adventurers Hall, which is about to come up. York's probably sort of second finest building, 32 here running well. And for Mark, it's not cold, still dull and damp. Yeah, we haven't even got that, Mark. It's not dull, it's not damp. It is unseasonably warm. So all I can say is, on the one hand, great, but not great for a nice. Maybe they need to move it back to January. Maybe February is asking too much. I don't know. But the idea is to try and have things most river. But let's go into the Coppergate Centre, and we will see if we can find ourselves. The signal might just drop for a second as I pass inside the centre, but do bear with. And we'll be out of there momentarily. So, coming into the Coppergate Centre, home of the famous Jorvik Viking Centre, and I do believe that hereabouts, yes, I can see something. I don't know what it is. There's a little kid pouring in it. Get your hands off it. They're wet enough as it is. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so if you remember, down here in Coppergate, we often have umbrellas that kind of decorate. I don't know if any are up at the minute. We'll have a look because we're passing that way next. But it's a bit of a theme, is Brolly's. And so they've done one. Instead, I'm just going to wait until sort of people are going to come around. It really is kind of very, very busy here. And I'm doing my kind of best to keep out people's way. But I'll just come in from that side there and give you a sense. So it's a lovely sculpture. I'll just do the best I can there. So we've got a rainstorm. We've got a... There we go. So we've got a brolly. we've got. I'll come out of the way in a second. You see the rain. That's a really good. Actually, it's in surprisingly kind of good condition, this one, because as I say, nobody can resist sort of coming up and touching these things, as you can see there. So of course, every little hot hand that comes into contact is another tiny bit of liquid that escapes. But a fish rising, well, yes, it's a good idea. But no, it's a brolly and a kind of rainstorm, and it marks the Coppergate. If I come around this side, we might get a better view. As I say, I think it's busier than it was last year, maybe because it's such nice weather. If you remember last year, it wasn't too mad, was it? But it's definitely a good one, this one. So, brollies, yeah, that's right, so Leslie. So the brollies, excuse me, can I just get through there? Thank you very much. The brollies are up here, but there's none up at the minute. It's a tour not going to plan. And I don't know exactly where it came from, the umbrellas, but they've sort of become a sort of design theme of the Coppergate Centre. And as kind of various things happen, they will put up brollies to kind of reflect that. So in Pride, you get the kind of the rainbow brollies. In Wimbledon, you get the kind of green and white brollies. During kind of Jubilees, I think, red, white and blue kind of ones. So they tend to use them to kind of reflect what's happening right now. So that is what the kind of brolly thing, but there's none up. So, and as ever, when you want to kind of talk about something, you then find it's not there. But our next one is very, very close. So we're just going to get across. So we're coming out of Coppergate Centre, out of kind of put in modern York, but this is the area hugely settled by the Vikings, which is why the Viking Centre is down here. We've got All Saints Church, which is about to come up on the right-hand side with the famous lantern tower on the evening tours. That's the tower, of course, that's lit up. And another one of York's fabulous medieval churches, of which I think there's 19 that we have within a kind of square mile. Astonishing kind of a number of these churches that we are blessed with. And I believe that we've got another ice sculpture is round about here somewhere. I can see lots of people, so that certainly would suggest that where the people are, chances are that's where the sculpture is too. So we'll just give it a sec just to try and get into a position. So this is for the restaurant, which is called 8 o'clock, or there is 8 o'clock. It's as you know, play on words, eating 8 o'clock. It's a lovely little place to go and actually have a meal. And so they've done their theme, unsurprisingly, as a grandfather clock, a tick-tock, hickory dickory dock. So we'll try and get in a minute, but it's so busy, it's difficult to. It's a good name, is it? 8 o'clock, yeah. It's kind of memorable. It works well. And it's a great location, kind of right in the centre. So we'll just try and get a little bit nearer in, just to see from the kind of side there. So it really is. It's a lot of fun. Your hand's cold now. Oh, isn't that fab? So they've got their logo in there. So it's a great way of marketing, for any sort of firms that are kind of involved. It's a great way of boosting your brand and making people aware of kind of what it is that you're kind of doing. But as you can see, just the drip, drip, drip kind of coming. You can see them all coming off. So unfortunately, this is the reality. But it's beautifully clear water, has to be said. It's like it's alpine water, isn't it? So I'm starting to think they should move it indoors, like Stefan's one. Was that in Amsterdam, Stefan's one? Because this really is struggling to hold up. But nonetheless, let's move on and we'll try and get in as many as we can, because obviously they are deteriorating. I think that's the expression. So let me have my little list and find out where we're going next. And we'll see what that looks like. So next we are going to Clifford Street. So Clifford Street is it's quite unusual in York, Clifford Street, because it's almost all Victorian, and most streets in York, have got some Victorian buildings. Clifford Street is almost exclusively Victorian. There is a wonderful kind of Gothic, almost monstrosity, that the Magistrates' Court in its midst. But famously, most people going down Clifford Street will be going down to visit the Castle Museum, and inside you've got a reconstructed Victorian street. And I remember being asked once by an American tourist, can you tell us the way to the Victorian Street? And I knew that they meant Kirkgate in the museum. So I wasn't being so stupid. I said, well, yeah, it's down there, but have a look around you because this is an actual Victorian street rather than a kind of reproduction one. And he just kind of looked at me bemused. Couldn't understand what on earth it was that I was kind of suggesting. He wanted to go and see Kirkgate and the waxworks. So that's nothing else will kind of suffice for him. So that's what he did. So as I say, you've got kind of fantastic Victorian Gothic architecture on this street. The Magistrates Court reminds me a great deal of St Pancras, like a little version of St Pancras, that kind of masterpiece of London, kind of North London next to King's Cross, isn't it? St Pancras Station. It's got that kind of look and feel. I guess deliberately to kind of give you the chills, isn't it? If you go into court, you're not going to feel happy about that. But very, very fine Victorian architecture, as I say, in this street. Most of it at one time, if not now, associated with the legal trade. Of course, with York being such an important centre of business and government, there's always legions of kind of law firms here, doing sort of contracts, you know, a wide kind of variety of kind of legal work. So consequently, most of these buildings are known as some chambers or other, but most now have kind of moved over to kind of retail, hospitality, the famous York Dungeon, like the London Dungeon, same company as that. But most of these were kind of had a legal basis, and there's the Magistrates Court coming into view. So I'm not quite sure where the sculpture is. I think it's going to be down by the court somewhere, but we'll look out. So again, looking at that kind of portico, if we can cross over, because I think it's going to be on that other side of the road. I'm not quite sure, but we were just admiring. I can't really cross at the minute because it is there's a crowd here, so I think this is where the sculpture is. Here's the court building here coming into our view. It really is a kind of towering, glowering sort of building that sort of looks angry. You know, it's kind of like something out of Gormenghast. I'm sort of familiar with Mervyn Peake's novels, Titus Grow and all that lot. I can imagine this being on a kind of hilly crag top with Titus Grow. So this one, right here. So sponsored by Crombie Wilkinson Solicitors. This is very patriotic, and it is about supporting the British forces. So here is our guy there, having a salute, and we'll give him his full. He's not very tall, yes, we said. He may be a bit short for active service, but it says it's the Armed Forces Covenant, and it's proudly supporting those who serve. Quite right too. So very respectful towards those in the military orders, and he got a smart chap there. I think slightly let down by a rather cheap and nasty Union flag, but other than that, very nice and respectful, and in pretty good shape compared to some of the others. So I like that one. That's very good. So again, we'll just come out the way so other people can get their images in. Yeah, not keen that Union flag. They need to do better on that. But other than that, a great effort to all involved. So trying to get run over, trying to get out of the way of other people. Goodness me, it's busy today for February. So here, in all its gory glory, we have the Magistrates Court. Don't you think it's got a foreboding quality to it? You know, bear in mind you might be going there to get ticked off for a parking ticket or something. You know, it seems awfully brutal for the dispensing of kind of relatively minor justice. But there we go. It's sort of bringing out anything. Just the thought, isn't it, of having to go in a big Victorian courtroom and stand there. I did years ago. Got in a minor bit of trouble. Had to go there. Nothing serious, but didn't pay a fine imposed by the council. And so the council then, but he took me to court, so I had to pay about double, which was a bit short-sighted of me not to just pay the first thing. In the first place, here we are. We'll come the other side now. So lovely bit of blue sky. So fantastic. We do need a salute emoji. That's a great call. So I think we're on the Eye of York next. I'm not entirely sure where. Can I just get across? Thank you very much. Look where you're going. Be good. So how nice that for just look at that. Pan that up. There we go. Love that. There's a nice postcardy for you. By the way, I think I found a good way of doing postcards. I'll share with you in a week or so. I'm going to ask one or two people to try it out for me. A way of doing postcards, having to crop your images afterwards, which I think is will be very much welcomed. So sorry about that. I might ask one or two people to try it out and let me know what they think before would perhaps suggest it could be adopted by those in the community that are getting a bit fed up of cropping their images. So we are heading into what we call the Eye of York, the historic centre of the city. And the Eye of York is actually the centre point of Yorkshire. Yorkshire, as some of you may know, historically was split into ridings, which is nothing to do with horse riding, although it could be. It's actually from an ancestral word thrid, which means a third. And basically the county was split into 3 ridings. The North Riding, the West Riding, and the East Riding. There was no South Riding. And York wasn't in the ridings. York was its own city and county. It was a sort of fully functioning kind of city-state, as you might say. And Linda's up some volunteer for clipping. Well, we'll give it a go, Linda, see what you think. So I'm just looking around now for where the sculpture is. So basically the way that the ridings worked was the centre point was here. Oh, I see it by Castle Museum. So the centre point is pretty much where that tree is. This, of course, is the wishing tree. So for those that are trying to get a handle on where we are, we're by the wishing tree. And basically York, that point roughly where the tree is, was the centre point. So you imagine the 3 ridings were like triangles, like a pizza, like a what do you call it? What do you call those graphs that are pie chart? Like a pie chart, right? So a third of this green was in North Riding, a third, or well, I wasn't in it because York wasn't, but it started here. Third south, and third east. So this was the centre. This is what they call the Eye of York. This was the line where the ridings of Yorkshire started. But York, as I say, was a county, province in its own right. It had no truck with being in the ridings. Indeed, we sneered at the very idea of such a thing. York was a city-state all of its own. So here we have another. I think this is meant to be a mythical beast, but I suspect it's getting to the stage where it's going to be increasingly difficult to recognise. So what's this? Oh, the bell of the ball. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, she's lost her head. That's rather unfortunate, isn't it? Less of the bell than perhaps she may have been earlier in the day. So she is. Should we call her Marie Antoinette now instead? We'll pretend that she's a victim of the French Revolutionary Terror. But oh dear, not quite the bell of the ball. So I think again we'll come back tomorrow morning when all these are freshly put out, and we'll see if we can capture Belle with a head. Isn't it fantastic? What happened in Clifford Tower? Was that a question, or is that a... What a shame she's lost her head. But nonetheless, we'll walk on. There's plenty more to see, so we will be disappointed, be underwhelmed. Have to admit it. Bell of the ball without a noggin is it doesn't really cut the cheese. It doesn't really cut the mustard, that one. So I can only apologise that the standard of the ice trail exhibits today is below the standard you can reasonably expect from this. So I can only apologise and blame climate change. That's why it's unseasonably warm. So yes, it's all your fault. If any of you drive vehicles or have heating on, you're to blame today. So yes, poor thing. So it's just looking rather splendid though, isn't it, against the blue sky? I'm enjoying the view. So we're going to Middleton's next, I think, because if you remember Middleton's, last year in the Garden of Middleton's, it was an Alice in Wonderland scheme, if you remember. So we had the Mad Hatter, if you remember the table, and all that was going on. So that's about probably 2 or 3 minutes walk away from where I am now. And poor little Belle, I know, Raylan. It's not ideal, is it? It has to be said, to be sans head when it's your day to shine. We should be the belle of the ball. Instead, she was looking rather sorry for herself, wasn't she? Mark walks into the buses, so it's not Mark's fault. Everybody else has played a part, including myself, of course, driving. It's come to this tour. But Mark is a paragon of virtue, an exemplar and an influence to us all. So those that love kind of flood watch reports in York, the river's only just gone down. We had very, very high wind storm. Is it Isha and something else? I can't remember. There was 2, an I and a J storm. And as usual, the river sort of came down. The river, when it's up, looks spectacular. When it comes down, that's when it kind of leaves a lot of kind of mud and detritus. So in all this, until very recently underwater, you can still see here you've got the pumping sort of stuff. So that is a problem with the floods, is it does leave something of a kind of mess behind. But nonetheless, so we can't walk through the gardens. We'll cross over the river. I'll show you the river levels that we're up to right now, and we'll go over to Middleton's to pick up on what they've got there, and we'll see what this unseasonable weather has done to disfigure. Hopefully they'll have heads. That'll be a start. If they've got heads, you know. We don't ask much, do we? But you know, a sculpture with a head is definitely, I think it's a non-negotiable, isn't it? It's the sort of thing you expect to see. I would say it's you know, it's not unreasonable to hope for a head, I don't think. But anyway, probably some child horrified that knocked the head off. You can only imagine the stern rebuke they would have got. Glacial stares, no doubt, from those around, and probably an incredibly embarrassed parent. But they are the joys of having kids when they do things like that in public. It might not have been a kid, it could have been an adult, of course, but one suspects it was sticky little warm hands that played a role in poor Belle ending up in her sorry predicament. I may, of course, be wrong and doing a disservice to the children and young people of York, but I feel I am on rather safe ground on this one, and I feel pretty confident in pronouncing it was one of the little people that had a role to play within that. Or maybe it was Succession. Maybe it's like the straw that broke, the hand that broke Belle's neck. You know, like the camel, the straw that broke the camel's back? So maybe it was one hand too many. So some unlucky child, like a bad game of Jenga, you know, with ice sculptures. Okay, I think I've got about as far as I can go with that analogy. It isn't even making sense to me anymore. So here we are. They are, actually, it's a good point. Well, they dig up statues that are often without heads. Partly because if you haven't got a river statue, heads are quite good. You know, you have little heads and shoulders, can't you? So often they would just be lopped off bigger pieces. But of course, the neck is vulnerable bit. It could break quite easily. So not hugely surprising, I suppose, that if they're going to break, that's where they break at probably the narrowest part of the body. Another person losing a head, absolutely, Elizabeth. We do have something of a tradition of the lady. Well, it's not so much ladies losing their heads. It wasn't really a punishment. Obviously, in France, revolutionary France, with the guillotine, ladies did, of course. Marie Antoinette most famously. In this country, we tended not to execute women with heads cut off. Some did. Some royals had it, Henry's queens and so forth. But we like to burn ladies over here. That we thought was going to be more fitting. So the crime of petit treason, again from the French, little petit. So petit treason means little treason, and that was for killing somebody who's socially superior as a woman, killing your husband, killing your father, because it was a disruption of the natural order of things. So by doing that, it wasn't a treason against the king, it was a treason against society, and flipping well not knowing your place. So the idea was to burn some sense back into you, so that by the end of that, you'd have learnt your lesson. You, of course, would be dead, but you would definitely have learnt the lesson, and there would be no repeat behaviour along those lines. So it does seem as a crime prevention. The punishment of burning petty treason was very successful, but you may say it was also a hugely blatant disregard of human rights. But people didn't really care so much about those things. And of course, if you weren't a man, you had no truck with things like rights. So nothing to do with ice sculptures. But there we go. It's amazing what comes to mind when we start seeing. Now we're on it, Sean. We're just kind of walking in between, sort of picking up the outliers. This is what we are. We're about to head into Middleton's. So they're scattered around. The idea is, rather than concentrating all in one area, is to have people wander the entire city. The idea being, of course, is you stop then for coffee, snacks, and cake, and ice cream, and this, that, and the other with the kids. So it's a way of sort of spreading out the fun, as you might say. But there's a big concentration in the city centre, and we're going out tomorrow morning to film all of those because it's just really, it's too warm. Sadly, as we've been saying over and over on this tour, it is doing a huge disservice to Cromwell's Head. That's a good spot, that, Tish. Cromwell's Head indeed was a matter of kind of public property, really, or certainly private property. It's, I think, the 1920s, It's Sydney Sussex College in Cambridge, if anybody knows that particular college. So we're almost now at Middleton and Pendle Witches. Yes, hanged. So yeah, hanging rather than beheading was our punishment of choice when it came to witches, if we didn't burn them. But so here we are, coming up to Middleton, and I think there's 3 or 4 in here. And I will just be with you momentarily. So this is Middleton's hotel, and again, very, very busy. Looks like I can see gingerbread men and all sorts of kind of funky things going on. So let us come on in, and we will have a look and see what it is we've seen. So again, it is incredibly busy, a little bit kind of congested here at the moment, but lovely hotel. Lady Anne herself right up at the top. So just while I'll get to space, lovely crest over here. The memory of late Joseph Terry, of course, the famous Terry's chocolate orange family. It's melting, yeah, indeed. They're getting further away because they are so darn small. So we'll try and start over here. So it does seem that there is a big camera over here. So maybe that's going to give us a clue to the theme that is going on. So is this something that he's going to filmic? We will just, sorry, I'll come around that side a bit out your way. So we've got a film camera over here, and we've got a rather creepy looking fellow over there. Hard to describe. I don't know exactly what's going on. I'll try and come in a little bit closer in a minute. We'll come back to that one. We'll just see if we can get a bit closer up here, because of course there's so many young people around, which is fantastic to see, but trying not to be filming everybody is easier than us. So I think I'll say we'll come out and do some private filming tomorrow morning, and then we'll do some of this later at home. We'll edit it all together, so you don't get the boring bits of me walking from one to another, and hopefully we'll capture them in pristine, tip-top condition before the hot, sweaty, sticky little hands have done their thing. So here we have another, and oh, look at this! This is a drink dispenser. So drinks going in at the top, look, and coming out the bottom. Isn't that clever? So I suspect that's something. Oh, the Potions Cauldron has sponsored this one. So again, it's a mythical beast. Oh, I see. It's a serpent. Can you see? So the serpent is snaking around. But isn't that clever? So we've got a tube coming out the bottom, and for those that want to sample it, can no doubt have a very, very cold drink. Isn't that fun? So there does seem to be this theme, mythical beast today. So I'm assuming that this is some kind of serpent rather than a snake. Thank you very much. So it has been confirmed it is indeed a serpent. So you see its tail is curled up. So, but again, of course, very much. We'll come back tomorrow and capture that with all its kind of detail. But that's absolutely fab. I love that. So let me just come out of the way, and we'll see. Is there another one over here? I'm not entirely sure where they are, but obviously there's a lot of people here, so it does suggest if we follow the crowds, we are perhaps coming dans la vicinité. And again, it looks like we may have something here. Yeah. Yes, we've definitely got something over there, but it is it's Wonka, right? You've got Oompa Loompas. Can you see? I'll try and come over this side. So we've got a chocolate factory theme going on. Will it let me zoom a little bit? No. Thank you. So that's York's chocolate story. And again, they're somewhat losing definition, aren't they? The blessed little Oompa Loompas. They're little folk in the first place, so they can't really afford to lose a great deal of body weight, can they? But there we are. So we've got a Willy Wonka figure over here. There's a very much entertaining, the children engaging, and down there. So I think we can probably come in now. Sorry, come a little bit closer if we can. But of course, Chocolate Factory is very much a York thing. We are a city of chocolate, after all. So I'll just come and slip in just from that side down there. See if we can just get in a little bit, just from a distance, and you can just see. So they are really quite fabulous. So get over there. Just wait until they come out, and then we'll give you a quick shot before the next one come in. So there we go. There is our 3 Oompa Loompas looking fab. Linda's in the new Wonka movie, so there we go. That they are Oompa Loompas. So again, we'll come in the morning and hopefully they will be in tip-top condition. But I'm loving them. I'm loving the Oompa Loompas. So let's go down and see what was in the main section of the garden. So it looked kind of alien, has to be said. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was because with the loss of kind of definition, as you might say, as well as the crowd, excuse me, let's get to it.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to get as close as we might like. But I think tomorrow morning will be a lot better in both respects. Less melt, fewer people. And so I think I'll come down tomorrow and do a blitz. And then we will perhaps do that tomorrow evening. I don't know. We'll work out a way. So I might not do the live tour tomorrow because it's the same weather. So, but I really want to show you these in their best condition possible because obviously the amount of work and craft that's gone into it, and as well the money, of course, is a great shame. So it's Willy Wonka. I recognise now, of course. Now into the theme, I now know. So I'll just come in close, give you a little, so you can see his goggles there. So steampunky hat. It's again all rather melty. So far from its absolute best, but we've got a golden ticket over here. So let's try and come in and I say it's. So you can see the golden ticket. So again, I'll just give you a little bit of zoom. So the bigger ones, I think, the bigger sort of solid ones tend to sort of survive a bit better, really, under the conditions. It's those with a lot of kind of sort of excess, if you like, of kind of fine detail. I'm just going to. So we've got the very cute gingerbread lady on the other side, which is absolutely fab. I'll just come in and try and get a little bit closer in. So we've got a kind of Wonka's chocolate bar. You can see there, the wrapper peeled half back. We've got the golden ticket being seen, and inside you've got chocolate oranges. So it is it's celebrating York's chocolate past. Sadly, chocolate oranges no longer made in York. They were invented here and developed here, but they're no longer made here. They're made in Poland, I think. Chocolate oranges, which is something of a tragedy, but that, as they say, is progress. So we'll just try and get you a little closer, but of course, every time there's a gap, people just pile into it just to get. So I'll just give you a little bit of up close there at Willy Wonka's face. But again, his features are not, as they say, what they might be. So let's walk on. It's so busy, and it just shows that these things do actually work, of course, because were it just a regular a regular February Saturday, you wouldn't have people in anything like this kind of volume on streets like Coppergate. So quite clearly, you know, it does work in spreading them out, even though it means that you've got longer walks in between. That's pretty encouraging us to be more outgoing, more active, which is probably no bad thing in and of itself. But of course, what it does mean is it means there's little bits in between. So again, if you do this at home as a kind of filmed version, we can sort of trim those bits out and you can get more ice for your book, as you might say. So more ice cubes in your drink, if that's what you like. And a very cute dog there, just passing it by. So we'll walk up Skeldergate, Skelde, Shields, in Viking, the street of the shield makers. And I've got the river still up, so I'll just show you on this side. You still see that the river is still up, but also if you look at this wet here, this marking, this is obviously where the river was until very, very kind of recently. So it's still beyond its banks. But you can also see how fast flowing is incredibly dangerous because this is all flowing out to the sea. The way I kind of river net, we see all this mud. I'm not going to come any closer because it's absolutely thick with mud. But it's very, very dangerous. So if you end up in the water when the floods are moving like that, it is very, very difficult to get back out again because it just moves so fast. It's a tidal river really, but just because it's dammed up at Neyburn, it no longer goes up and down with the tides. But it is, you've got lots and lots. I have no idea how much water passing every minute, but it is a huge volume. And I'm sure the streets for you, John. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's always a pleasure to be out and about in York. And next week we have the Vikings returning, so we're all about all things Viking next week for half term. So again, lots of things for the young people, children to get involved with, which is fabulous. And I need to go and collect my pass from the Yorvik team to give me access. But we enjoy bringing the Vikings. We'll have the March of the Vikings, which I suspect will be a week today. And look at the encampment. We're going to go see the best dressed Viking competition this year. We have the trials of combat, the pitched battle. So there is quite a lot to bring you Viking related. So for those that enjoy walking in the 9th or 10th centuries, next week is definitely for you. So do check out those tours we're getting listed in the following days. Not that I get a chance to do my own tours, spend so much time listening to other people's that and then messing up their mistakes. We get a lot of that, unfortunately. That my tours tend to suffer as a result. So if you wonder why I don't get out and about so much, it's because I'm busy helping other people, which is nuts, I know. But there we go. It's careful what you start, isn't it? You know, with these things, you end up being everybody's mum to a degree. But there we go. It's a role, I guess, that I thrust upon myself. So I've got nobody else to blame really on that. So coming to Micklegate, Great Street, Great Street, and this is going to come up to Micklegate Bar at the top. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's most kind of you. And thank you to Tristan if she's on for wicked lovely present. Thank you, Linda, who sent me something last week. Do appreciate it. It is most welcome. So St John's Parish Church, another of York's medieval churches. St John the Evangelist. It's now a bar and mini eggs. Yeah, my daughter, my youngest daughter, absolutely loves mini eggs. She is, and they're not for sale, I don't think, all year round. So when it's time for mini eggs to come back in, we kind of get an industrial crate delivered for it to kind of satisfy our urges through the Easter period, which seems to start on Boxing Day now, doesn't it? It just seems that we just get, get Christmas out of the way, and suddenly they wanted to push Easter. Oh no, they want to push Valentine's first, don't they? Then they want to push Easter, and it's just sort of one thing after another that is about costs. But yes, so we're walking up Micklegate. Again, I'm not entirely sure where the sculptures are, but we'll follow the people, and that indeed will no doubt give us a clue as to where we're going. So as promised, a medieval church on every corner. We've got St Martin coming up on our left-hand side. That's where the glass centre is. And I tried to some miniature Kendler. I was Kendler fanatic this year as well. So it's a stained glass centre. If you remember on York Locked 2 years ago, we went in there and we had a lovely a lady called Lynn Southern, I believe her name was, gave us a demonstration of stained glass techniques. That was in that church there. The things we've all done together. I can barely remember them all myself now, but so St Martin's Church, another of our medieval churches. So we're heading up Micklegate. So Micklegate is the other kind of main route into the city. We've got Micklegate Bar at the top, the famous Royal Gateway to York. It's where, for those that came on the tour, King Charles and Queen Camilla, we stood there and waved them and saw them. That's the royal entrance to the city. That's where we're walking up there towards right now, and keeping them peeled for anything that I see. Thankfully the sun's gone in, it's a bit cooler, so one can hope at least that will have a dampening effect on the melt. And it's rather quiet up here, so perhaps we might get a slightly closer look. So we can but hope, And I'm just going to take a sip of water because it's terribly thirsty business. He's yakking on constantly. But think of it as a gift to my wife, who gets a bit of peace for an hour or two while I come on and witter on to you lot. So you really are going to be spoilt by medieval churches. All Saints, lovely Jacob's Well, just there on our left. And we've got the fabulous Holy Trinity Church, one of the medieval churches of York. I'm just keeping my eyes peeled now, looking out for ice sculptures. I'm thinking there might be one somewhere. This is where I would kind of put it. In this is the church, got the stocks outside. Oh look, we've got some little what do you call them? Snowdrops coming out. Isn't that cute? So Nice to see life coming back. Whatever winter does to us, we're always going to find a way back, do we not? So, and winter's neat, isn't it, for nature to have a rest and so forth. So, look at that, that's lovely. So we've got the medieval stocks out here, the replicators actually, the original ones are inside the church. But, lovely, buttercup, are they buttercups? Yeah, whatever they are, they're most welcome. Most lovely. So, and famously, you've probably spotted there are 5 holes in the stocks. And the legend was that they were built specifically because there was one bloke around here who was particularly naughty, in here a great deal, only had one leg, so he needed one leg. But it's unfortunately, like a lot of great stories, it's also completely untrue. And what it was the old stocks were put on a wood pile, they were going to be burnt. The woodsman, the groundsman, whatever, had already started hacking them to pieces when somebody said, no, you mustn't do that, you've got to preserve them for the future. And so, consequently, the 6th hole was sawn off for firewood. So there we go. So I think that we've got now the Kraken. I think that we are on to Kraken now. So we are definitely we're definitely in back in mythical creature territory. I'll just come around this side. I don't want to be in people's pictures, but we'll just come around on this side. Try and give you a bit of a kind of close up. So again, the kind of definition is not all it might be there. But the Kraken, of course, great sea monster, a mythical sea monster, isn't it, that would come up and smash sailors kind of off their boats and drag them to the bottom of the sea. Davy Jones' locker, of course, was full, wasn't it? It was the mythical lair of the Kraken at the bottom of the ocean. And of course, the final resting place of many an unfortunate sailor.
I think he gets like ships.
Yes, your ships, they pull them down. Great big sort of like sea serpent, wasn't
bigger
it?
things and
The tendrils
around the ship,
absolutely
underneath,
and pull them down.
Pull it down.
Pull it down. Not a very social mythical beast, it has to be said, but there we go. And there's a room, I believe, now called of the Kraken. So I think there's another one up here somewhere. We may have missed it. Otherwise, there's some by the stage, so we'll have a wander around that way. You like the one-legged version better than the Kraken? Interesting. I think if that's what we talk about, there's always a sort of slight lag on comments. So I'm never entirely sure exactly what it is that you're referring to. So if I got that wrong, Elizabeth, then do forgive me. There's about a 20-second delay, I think, from what you submit and when I see it. So in that the amount of rubbish and piffle that I've spouted in the intervening 20 seconds, being quite literally could be about anything, really. Let's be honest. There is no shortage of verbiage on this. Like a huge squid, absolutely. It was a huge squid. And it was notorious for sort of coming up and sort of wrapping its tendrils around ship's masts and so forth, and pulling down the ship to, as I say, to reside in what's known, I don't know why, but was known to one and all as Davy Jones' locker. So Davy Jones' locker was the bottom of the sea and the final resting place of sailors. So I can't see another ice sculpture up here. So it may be that we missed one somewhere on the way up, but don't matter, we'll go round to the station and the railway hotel. There's one by the War Memorial as well, I think, down here. So there's a few more to go. I don't know what we're like for time. I guess we're coming towards the end of our hour together. But as I say, what we've missed today, I'm going to go out and film in the morning, and we'll look to present a compendium of them. Oh, talking about the stocks. Oh, I see. Talking about the stocks. Yes. Yes, it's a better story, isn't it? Yeah. And there is, of course, the view that why let the truth get in the way of a good story, which I must admit, on occasion, I've been guilty of. But I do feel a sense of duty to bring it to you. So even if the ice sculptures are disappointing a little bit with this warm weather, it does make a lovely blue sky to highlight some of the wonderful historic beauties. I've got so Middleton Bar, of course, Royal Gateway to the city. So I'm going to swing a right, and this may well be the very last time that we ever walk this route, because the reason I'm saying that is the bridge that we're about to go over. Let's cross over. Actually, it might be easiest to cross over here. So I'll show you the beetle as well, Tansy beetle. The bridge we're about to walk over is finally being demolished, and they've been talking about doing this. Most of my life. It is redundant because it's the route of an old railway line, that no longer exists. But that railway line, believe it or not, has been redone since the 1870s. So it's fair to say they haven't really cracked on with this. But nonetheless, it's finally happening. And so I think either this month or next month, the bridge here is going. And so we're going to have a brand new plaza. So it's going to be a very kind of different, I think, look and feel around the station. Much more flatter and opener, more open rather. Speak English, it'd be good. So all that's happening very soon. So this, we can just see that the ambulance coming down there. This rise, it's all going. And so the walls, for a start, are going to seem a lot higher because you're not going to have the slope leading up to them. You know, so it's just going to create a very kind of different look and feel. Now that Linda, I thought we'll walk up this way because Linda, I think, spotted an image. Was it Leslie? And Linda commented on it, one or two. We'll come to that in a second. But this is York's tansy beetle. Only resident in York. It's a lovely mural we have. So with insects, it's not unusual. There'll be a New York kind of beetle. Animals that have just kind of grown up to basically, you know, survive in the local environment. So the tansy beetle of York, only found here anywhere in the world. It's rather lovely, isn't it? And so they decided to do a very, very fine mural. I've never shown you that before, but that is York's very own tansy beetle. So yes, so Linda or Leslie, I forget which, apologies for my rubbish memory, picked out the image that I'm about to show you. Will they maintain a good atmosphere of the past? I think definitely. I mean, I think actually this bridge does nothing really. I mean, it's just it's a ugly modern sort of construction to solve a problem that doesn't exist. So everything's changing forever. And again, you may recognise it. There was a bridge here, a footbridge to the Railway Institute Sports and Social Club, but that's gone now. So suddenly everything looking very, very different. But yes, Linda, Leslie, this is the view that you were talking about of York Railway Station. I think it was probably taken. I'll try and capture where I think you'll have the mural of the beetle. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been there about 2 or 3 years, Sandy. So it's a fairly recent addition. Very, very welcome. So there we go. I would say that the photographer was probably stood about there when they took the picture. Is it in my group? I forget. I saw it somewhere on Facebook today, and saw Steve is not impressed with progress. So I think it was about there, right? Are we getting that? Are we in agreement? Those that there it is. Yeah. So that's what you saw, and it's like a bit like an armadillo shell. So Linda did say, "Is it worth a tour?" And the answer is yes. And I do this one on a tour that I call Middleton Quarter. So I think we will schedule that. I've not done that one for quite a long time. So we'll do that at some point over the next few months, and we'll give you a nice look because it's a fabulous station. And I say when it was built in 1873, it was the largest station in the world. It's not bad, huh? In little old York. So I'm still using it to this day. Now I believe somewhere in this area, certainly one of the principal gardens, there are 2 or 3. We'll mark the closing the road obviously while they do it, which is going to be pretty hectic, you can imagine. But afterwards, I think they're kind of reprofiling. What they're trying to do is make it a more pedestrian friendly, because as you can see, this part of the city very much kind of given over to motor vehicles, whereas most of York, of course, is the opposite. It's pedestrian friendly, pedestrianised during the day, and so obviously you need buses and public transport. So I think what they're trying to do is, what's that? I can't think of the word. Like kind of segregate it, as you might say. Do you know what I mean? So that more of it is given over to walking and to cycling, but allowing, of course, the buses and taxis to continue. But I suspect that plain old motorists will come sort of bottom of the pecking order, and that's not a gripe. I don't mind that. I think that's sort of eminently sensible. But I think the age of being able to drive wherever you like, when you like, is pretty much kind of done with, isn't it? So I wouldn't be at all surprised whether restrictions on sort of private motor vehicles were part of that. Yeah, Linda, I agree with you. And of course, you've got a fabulous station. Central Station, New York, is one of the finest stations, I would say, in the world. Sadly, of course, the famous picture can never be recreated, can it, with the light coming through because of all the buildings that are now kind of in the way and block that light. But thankfully, it was caught beautifully. And of course, with a fantastic one, I think you might get to go with Patrick Earp, the Musée d'Orsay. You know, to Musée d'Orsay in Paris, a former art gallery. An art gallery. It's a former station. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous building. Absolutely love it. So we are on the lookout for an ice sculpture that I was told. I wonder if it's in the station. I'm just going to have a little pootle in and just see if there's any sign of ice sculpture, because I think there's every chance they may have located it. All I know is there's one round by the station and one in the gardens next door, so we'll try and seek those out. But I strongly suspect if there is one, it'll be inside. So those who want a little peek of the station, you get your wish. But we'll just have a look and see if we can see everything get sort of filmed for your delectation, delight, interest, and otherwise. No, I can't see one here, so it must be something on the outside. So there's Aaron and Patrick, great tours on the stations, yeah. You know, and as Linda says, I mean, this sort of public infrastructure, particularly sort of built, you know, 100 years ago and more, tend to be kind of great repositories of, you know, kind of wonderful architecture, ironworks and so forth. You know, they took a great deal of care. There was a lot more what I call sort of civic pride. So it was less just focus on purely the functional element of buildings and the cost. So they lavished buildings with lots of lovely sort of details that made them much more expensive to build. Look at this, you know, for like the station cafe, but are endlessly pleasing on the eye. You know, they're absolutely kind of delightful sort of buildings. And again, if you sort of scan up, you see lovely architecture. So let's just push on. I can't see the sculpture. It may have been removed. It may have been taken down because it was too melted. But let's have a look. So we're going to have to make this a little. I think there's two more I can show you today on this tour, and then we'll have to wrap up because I've just had my 10% battery warning flashing. Lots of station, the Louvre metro stop. Yeah, absolutely. Horrendously busy, of course, run by the Louvre, but it is a lovely station hotel, former station hotel, principal hotel now. But if you're looking for somewhere very central, stay in York, you can't really beat this for a location. And glorious Victorian architecture abounds. But of course, you've got the Grand over the road as well. So let's have a look. I believe there's an ice sculpture somewhere in here. We were told Principal Gardens, so let us see what we can see. Like the sailor that went to CCC to see what he could see. CC. Where are we? Have we got anything? But either way, so a little walk through the garden. We've never actually been through here before on a tour, so it's no bad thing to take you. But at the moment, I can't see. Normally, these things are apparent by people nearby, so I've been going to rather become reliant on sort of following the crowds, as you might say. They're lovely though, they tell, to locate these sculptures. But on this occasion, there is nobody to guide me in that respect. So it ain't so easy to spot. But just have a quick sort of turn around. Ah, there we are. I can see it now. So I think that this is. Here we go. This is a model of itself, which is fun, I suppose. So there we go. We've got a model. It's a scale, but maybe it would start off in scale, but now it's melted. It's less scaly, as you might say. So it's a nice kind of rendering, isn't it, that they've done here with, and it is celebrating 145 years of Great British hospitality. And it started as the railway company. It was owned by the railway company, so for station guests, people travelling and so forth. Queen Victoria famously stayed here once, but it was the Royal York Hotel for many, many years. So yeah, nice doll's house Tish, but I think it is a representation of the building that it stands in front of, which is the frankly fab former Royal York Hotel, Station Hotel, now known as Principal York. So, but there's a sort of gingerbread quality to it, isn't there? So that's not so melted. Absolutely, it's in. Well, we don't know because it's poured together. There might have been figurines. Who knows what was there before? But again, I'll come down with camera in the morning, I think, and try and capture it before the weather can do its worst. But sort of splitting in half, I think, see which joined up. But I like that one. It's fab. Now I believe that there's one more that we can show you on Station Rise, just around the corner by the War Memorial, is where I'm guessing, that's where I put it. So I kind of sort of think to some degree, where would you put these things? Because it's not simply a case of saying go around, because obviously, you know, they only arrived this morning, so there's no markers yesterday where they were going to be, and the maps are pretty vague. They're just kind of a bunch of dots showing you kind of where they are, but they don't specify precisely. You just know there's one by the station, there's one in the gardens, there's one here, one there. So it's not spoon-fed. You've got to do a little bit of your own detective work. You know, now we might have to just get across there. Thank you very much. Can I get across? Thank you. We'll walk through the cholera burial ground, which I've taken you down here in a while. The cholera epidemic of 1832 in York carried away very many of its citizens. There's only a few gravestones in here, but all that is telling you is that only a relatively small number of the people that died were afforded the respect, the luxury of having a grave. They put them out in the morning, Leslie. They're in cold soil. There's 2 ice sculptures for each one, if you might say, and one will come out tomorrow morning from a refrigerated van, and then so from 10 o'clock onwards they'll be out on the streets. So that's why I'm going to go out and do some filming to get them at their best, and well, hopefully it's pretty quiet as well. And we'll hit the city centre ones first, and then go to the outlying ones, because I don't think it'll be so busy between sort of 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow. And if I'm not having a chat to you, I can just film, switch off the camera, go to the next one, film, switch off the camera, etc. So I can whisk through it quite quickly, and not to have a sustained running commentary of sorts. So we're going to pass through the city walls, with the archways created to allow the railways to come into the city. The original station just coming up in the centre of your picture now, in that archway. They're building now West offices to York Council. Was the original station of York, but they found it in the wrong location, inside the walls, and it was far better to have something outside the walls. So somewhere in this area on Station Rise, which is where we are now, I was told that there's the Railway War Memorial, the national monument to railway workers who lost their lives in the First World War. So we've looked at this one before. So I'm just keeping them peeled now and seeing if we can see. So Station Rise, that's not that, it's down here, isn't it? So bit of wind picking up, and it's been wonderful walk. Thank you. I mean, as with all these things, is you know, the pleasure is in being together, isn't it? And I know that for many of you watch these later, it's very convenient to do your own time, but there's nothing quite like being together live, and I think that's something that we should always sort of try and maintain. But of course, busy lifestyles, time zones, etc., mean that we can't always do that. But if we can, I think it's a pleasure of whatever it is we do it together, and that's the whole vibe, isn't it? Really, is doing it together and finding companionship and belonging, and having friends, people we drop into, and most crucially, people that would miss us if we weren't here. And so I think that is an absolutely fabulous thing about our community. It's caring, it's sharing. We look out for one another, and people miss us when we're not here. And I think that's fantastic, because unfortunately, you can't always say that in life, can you? Now, the last of these I can't find. We are on Station Rise. That's all the information that I have. So again, whether it's simply become too melted and they've taken it in, I don't know. But we'll just have one last walk up. But I can't think that would have missed it, because it's a pretty short street. And so tomorrow, I'll make a judgment call depending on what I get in the morning, so whether I'll do it live in the afternoon, or we're still going to do part 2 of the witches, haven't we? God, so much to do. We'll find a way, but it may be that I do these at home, so we can get them all in kind of tip-top, and we'll do a kind of live commentary over the top. I'm looking for, probably, I am kind of looking out and seeing if there's any sense of where it was on. I'll tell you what we'll do, because I'm walking this way anyway, just in case it was slightly misleading. It's in front of the Grand. This isn't really Station Rise, but just in case it's there, we'll walk down here before I turn off, because I'm about to get kicked off because of lack of battery anyway. So, found it. Brilliant. As ever, follow the kids. The kids know. It's creepy, isn't it? You know? What's that film? They're like Village of the Damned. They're like that. The children know. They find these things. So we'll just Right. Now then again, it does look like somebody's head is no longer attached. We'll just wait for a minute to come in and try and get you a bit of a kind of close-up over there. But so glad you could come, Sandy. It's always an absolute hoot and a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for your support and generosity. And as I say, thank you for just being yourselves and coming along and being. The website's all good now. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Unfortunately, you know, things happen. Updates they're naughty little things. Websites that are great if people aren't using them, but when lots of people start using them, people loading tours and so forth, they do creak a little bit at times. So there we go. So I don't know what that's meant to be really, but oh, is it a Willy Wonka thing again? We've got a top hat, haven't we? So maybe it was a Willy Wonka. It was a mythical creature. But it answers on a postcard, this one, really. I couldn't really tell you exactly what it is. But nonetheless, here it is. So I don't know. Another headless woman? Yeah, well, I don't know. Is that a head underneath that top hat? I really can't. Hello, Dot, Reverend Dot, from up in Strensel. St Mary's, is it? St Strensel? Always a pleasure to have you on. It's tending to the spiritual needs hangovers, feel like, of our community. So, Rev Dot's most welcome. So, hangovers, feel like. So I think that's about as much as we're going to get from this particular tour. So before the battery, I will let other people, of course, I will come this side. And it's fair to say my hair has not improved in the last hour or so that we've been together. So I can only apologise about that. But it's frightfully thin on top now. So getting it to stay in place is a mother of all tasks. But there we go. So we'll try. Yeah, we'll see what tomorrow brings. Like I say, I'm going to come out and do filming in the morning, and I'll make a judgment call on the weather. But frankly, I think better to capture them at their sort of pristine best, and then we can look at it at home, and we can look at all these ones that we're seeing today, but obviously in much better condition. I suspect, particularly as we've had this natter today, we can then just have edited highlights tomorrow. But what I could call it tomorrow. But as I say, I think that's what I'm kind of leaning towards, rather, should we say, at this kind of moment in time. So it's been a hoot, been a pleasure. All things must come to an end, not least my phone battery. So I'm going to say ta-ra now before we're rudely interrupted and I disappear from your screens. Not because I make a hasty exit, but rather because phone batteries ain't what they were. And whilst Prism, by the way, this new platform we're all using, a lot of us using, is ace. Thanks to Mark in Amsterdam for introducing and supporting onboarding for that. He's a thoroughly good egg, is Mark. But it does tend to use your battery up faster. So that means that longer tours without a battery pack, and I haven't got a battery pack with me, are increasingly difficult to do. But nonetheless, I think that in terms of picture and sound quality and overall reliability, we were all getting a little bit fed up with its predecessor. And there's far too many Leonie, Natalie, and others were really kind of suffering with streaming challenges. So I think it's good that we've moved across to a different provider. And touch wood, everybody reach around, touch me wood, if you'd be so kind, to see that Prism continues to offer us a high quality sound and visual, but more importantly, the reliability, because ultimately it's very dispiriting for both the guide and very much for you. Yeah, portable charger. They are great portable chargers, but the problem with the portable charger is you've got to have a cable. And we've got a cable plugged into your phone. It then impacts on your gimbal. You can't kind of move as freely as I'm kind of doing there. So, as ever, for every solution, there is another challenge. But that's my worry, not yours. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. We'll finish off just here, back on Middleton. We're heading back now towards my car. It's been an absolute hoot, pleasure, delight seeing you all. And I will see you tomorrow, whether we are live in the afternoon or doing Witches in the evening or whatever we're doing. And we'll do something tomorrow. So I look forward to that. And thank you all for your support and just being here and being wonderful and fab and groovy and every epithet that I can think of, considering yourself that it applies to you. So from me in York to you, wherever you are, I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.